Welcome everyone. This is our Thursday morning production call. I'm excited about this one. Feels like I haven't done one in forever, Amber. And so super excited about this one. We got a great one lined up for y'all. Again, just a ton of new agents. Um, a ton of agents that have just been here. I always love to talk about, you know, we get consistent or we stay doing the same thing and really quite often we feel we've been doing the same thing, but sometimes we stop getting the results we were getting, right? And if you ever feel that, sometimes it's because we've just strayed away from the very basics, right? And it's so hard to identify that sometimes, right? Because you're like, man, why last month I crushed it, or why 2 months ago I crushed it, and this month I'm not, right? And it's funny when you really break it down and go back and look, it's like, oh, well, I'm kind of doing or not doing a lot of things that I was doing, right? Or I've added a few extra things, right? Or again, I've taken off some few, and you don't notice it because right you get into that really good rhythm of you've booked several appointments a week, right? And they're showing up or they're not showing up, and it gets very easy of doing so many to forget that you or realize you've actually changed, right? Some of the practices that were finding you the most success. So I always love to go back to the basics. It's what always keeps me realigned, right? Sometimes it's like, man, why can't I write the business that I normally write? It literally happens to me all the time. And it's like, okay, let me refocus and thank you for James, Amber, and Nate. Like we have a really close pack, right? And it's like, well, are we really doing the things we're supposed to be doing? And so I'm just gonna review all those things because it really does make a difference. And hopefully it helps y'all today. I always love to talk about, right? This is a 1 hour long call, so make sure you got a pen and notepad out, right? Again, it ain't about changing your entire appointment. It's simply, right, writing down 2 or 3 things, right, that you're like, hey, you know what? I could probably implement that in my appointment because I'm not, right? And then just simply start adding them to your appointment. It's amazing of how that works, right? You're just getting a little bit better every single time. And then what my humble ask is that if anything works for you, right, that you please let put it on band and let them know, right, like, hey, this helped me out from the production call. We're a big community in the cook hierarchy, and it really does help a lot. So appreciate y'all there. So let's get started again, right? Appointment basics. Um, we're just going to start from the very beginning, right? I think it's very easy, especially, I'll give you my experience as a producer that's been here a long time. It becomes very easy for me to start missing things, right? Especially at the appointment booking time. And then all of a sudden, right, I'm increasing my no-show rate, right? And a lot of it is just because I get lazy, right? Like again, we get to that consistency of I've been dialing for 3 weeks straight, right? And I'm missing little things. So I always love to talk about when we're booking the appointment, right? Some of them, or not some of the most important things you need to be getting, right, and doing so that you can have a higher show rate. So obviously, right, is following the script. I always love to talk about the word is, right? Sometimes we get into that little rut of, man, I talked to a whole bunch of people and I didn't book enough appointments, right? And it's because we're off script and we don't realize we are off script. It so much value in pulling out the script and just reading it again. Right, like it is insane if you think, right, you know the script. Have you pulled it out? Do you still have it in front of you, and are you using it to book your appointments? We listen to each other sometimes, or sometimes agents send us recordings, and it's amazing of how far off script we are, right? So I always love the word is because that's usually the very first mistake we make, right? The phone rings, ring, ring, ring. They pick up and it's like, hey, is this Elijah? And I've instantly added the word is. They're instantly going to go with, no, they're not here. Or who are you looking for? That you have opened the opportunity for them to not say it's them. right? So just realize the word is probably the biggest one that I hear is the right, the biggest hurdle that I always see in the script. So make sure you write the word is, you're not adding, and then just following it word for word. It is insane. Follow them word for word. Stop trying to make them yours, right? Like here's the thing, when we get an agent, and Amber, James, maybe y'all can speak to this, right? Because as we spend years here, right, or time, and even months as a new agent, we tend to have the in sales. There's always the, well, I'm going to make it my own, right? Well, making it your own is probably going to cost you thousands of dollars, and I love to talk about why, because at the very beginning you're going to find success, right? Because guess what? Our leads are the best, whether they're the 50-cent leads or they're our brand new. We have the best leads out there. You're going to run into people that just want coverage, right? And it's so easily, right? It's so easily to confuse yourself and say, oh, well, I didn't add that and I shortcut it here. And this is a way better way to run it, right? It was so much easier for me, Amber. I didn't have to ask health questions, right? They just said yes. And all of a sudden you've tricked yourself into, oh, I've written 3 policies like that this week. Well, guess what? You were putting in the work weeks before to fall into the layups, right? And the layups are the trickiest ones because they make you believe that taking shortcuts are going to help you find consistency and success, right? So I always love to talk about making sure what gives you the highest percentage numbers of closing, right? And that is following the script. And so understanding that math, right, and that science in it is huge, because right, it's very easy, right? We take the numbers out and we're like, well, I've been doing this these past 2 weeks, Amber, and I wrote 10 grand, right? Like you can't tell me my way doesn't work, Amber, right? And I was off script, right? And then all of a sudden, right, 3 weeks later, a month later, that same producer is like, nothing's working, right? Like I didn't write what I wrote last month, right? It's because you were just doing your own thing, right? Again, I can't say it enough. Making sure, yeah, Kevin, you've learned these lessons many of times, buddy. You've called me and you're like, man, I'm just gonna say what the script says, right? Every single time. There's so much science, because remember, we're not looking for, oh, I wrote business this week, or I wrote business, right, these couple of appointments. We're looking for, hey, I consistently write business, right? The more I sit with folks, the more apps I write, because I just say the same thing every single time. So much power in that, right? Realizing, following the script, and then just some of the key things. Again, I'm these production calls are usually me training myself, because I know what I do wrong, right? So like Amber's like, why are we doing this? I'm like, well, these past couple of days, right? Like I've noticed in my appointments, I didn't have this kind of information, right? Or I didn't do this. So I always love to talk about, when you're booking the appointment, right? Are you confirming the mortgage, right? Making sure you get an accurate mortgage. It's so easy to be intimidated, especially by bonus leads, or when someone's being rude, to just brush it off and be like, oh, yeah, yeah, something like that. Okay, great, right? Realize you give them power when you don't verify the exact amounts, because they'll instantly go, well, when you're in the appointment, all of a sudden it's like, well, you don't have my information, you don't have this correct, right? And you're empowering them to be able to have ammunition to fight back against you. So just really important, right? To, hey, I just want to confirm, Elijah, I got 198,000 on this mortgage. Is that still what we owe, right? If we're working bonus leads. And they're like, no, it's a little off. Perfect. I figured, right? It looks like, it was a while back ago. Yep. It's really 179. Perfect. Let me get that down for you. Right. And then being able to verify for them that, hey, because that's all out, right? We don't need extra coverage. We're just going to get enough of what you need. Right. And they love to hear that you're on their side to lower their premium. Right. Because then we're not a salesman. We're not pushing, right, 200,000 of coverage when their mortgage is only 179. Right. We may uncover different needs, but my job right now at the very beginning on a mortgage protection is just get you enough to cover the house. Right. And they again, walls come down when they hear little things like that. And I think it's so easy to forget, especially for those big dialers out there, right? As we're dialing 100, 200 dials in a day, right? We get into that routine and it's just like, well, that one, I got that one, I got that one. And it's right again, confirming these little things for the mortgage. The big one is the mortgage payment, right? So, hey, okay, so it is 198, perfect. You know, Michael, what's the monthly payment on that house? Right. And then just slowing down. And then it's like, well, hey, no worries. I got time for you. Right. What's that monthly payment? That way, again, I'm going to go do some research and make sure I have just enough coverage for you. Right. We don't need to get you extra. And they're like, oh, that makes more sense. Well, yeah, hold on. Let me check real quick. Right. And I always love to talk about the let me check really quick. I think sometimes as we're booking appointments, Amber, you can probably speak to this. It gets weird, right? Because we're making them go do things. And I don't know why, when we're booking appointments, we want to do it so fast and hang up the phone, right? Like that's just a natural feeling like, oh, yes. Okay, great. Well, tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Bye. And we're like, whew, I booked it, right? But it's really slowing down and just taking your time, right? Like, hey, Amber, what was that monthly payment? And when you hear things like, hold on, let me check, that used to make me nervous. And that means they're serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you should want to hear those things. And Amber, I mean, you're our best dialer out there. I mean, anything you can speak to that, right? And getting in that little rut of trying to go quickly.
Yeah. Um, just keep in mind, right? Like if you rush them off the phone, they're not going to remember who you were. Whereas if you're really intentional with, hey, let me get all this info for you so I can do my homework for you, they're like, oh, okay, great. You're just here to help me. And another thing, like if they give you a rough number for their monthly payment, like, oh, I think it's about 1450. Great. That's all you really need, right? Like a rough number. You don't need to stress them out by, okay, what's the exact dollar and cent that
Oh,
you paid
that's
them?
good. Yeah, again, making them feel you're there to help, right? Not putting them to work, right? There's that fine line. So that's really good, right? I think sometimes like, well, what about the pennies? We don't need the pennies, right? Like, is it 1350, right? Is it right? When they start telling me, Amber, right, it's 19, I think it was like 1970, 1988. You know what? I'm gonna put 2 grand for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because again, we just need enough to cover the mortgage payments. So, but super important to make sure you get that monthly payment. And then the health conditions. Um, Again, it's making sure, right? This is where remember, our job is to get them the most amount of coverage for the least amount of premium. The way we do that is based on their age, health, and budget. So making sure we're asking all these health questions up front is super important. And then again, also not stressing them out for every prescription medication, right? At the end of the day, right now, with all the instant underwriting in our apps, right? Like we're not even answering health questions anymore before it's already telling us if they're approved or not. Realize that the machine's going to do its job, right? So it's just making sure health conditions more than anything. The only time you should dig into a medication is if it's something very specific or odd, right? And you'll get this with experience. Don't stress out at the very beginning. The only thing you want to do when you're booking the appointment, right, is stuff like my main 5 questions I love to ask, right, is, hey, Amber, I just want to make sure any health conditions. Have we ever had the heart attack, stroke, cancer, diabetes, or anything like that? And I say that every single time. That has uncovered me the most health conditions ever in an appointment setting, right? Because again, the 3 most common ones: heart attack, stroke, cancer, and diabetes, right? And then I love to ask, or anything like that, because you're going to get, well, I have lupus, right? In the appointment, and you're like, why didn't you tell me? Well, because you technically only asked, did you have a heart attack, stroke, cancer, diabetes, right? So making sure you leave an open-ended health question is super important, right? So it's, hey, or anything else like that. That
And
is
you'll
huge.
you'll also get people that are like, oh, I didn't have a heart attack. So they say no, but they have like CHF or AFib or
Yeah.
something else that they don't tell you about till you get into the appointment. So just
Yeah,
having
so
that open ending, like, hey, anything else along those lines?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like to add the one like any other health condition or we should be aware about or may prevent us from getting any coverage that we should know about. So I like to say something like that.
yeah, it's amazing how all of a sudden, well, I do have this too, because you leave that open-ended question. And then, right, especially, right, these are, again, when you get, no, I'm perfectly healthy, realize that is very rare in America right now, right? So I always, so when they tell me that, my next pivot question for health is, are we on any prescription medication by a doctor? I think that's one of the most important questions when they tell you they're healthy. Because all of a sudden, healthy people, Elijah, are taking all kinds of medication, right? So adding that, hey, are we taking any prescription medication by a doctor? And then they're like, yes, I take this, this, and this. Again, we don't even need their medication at this point. Perfect. What do you take? Right? It goes back to the condition. What are you taking that for? Right? Because I don't know about y'all. I ain't a doctor and I don't know all these random words that they use for all their medication. Right? I just need to know what are you taking it for? Right? Because then it's like they tell me this big old crazy medication, Amber, and I'm freaking out. And they're like, oh no, it's for my cholesterol, right? Or it's for pimples, right? Or it's for something silly. And I'm like, whew, I thought that was the end of this appointment. Right. So just again asking them, right, whatever medication they give you, hey, what are we taking that for? And then they tell you the condition. If you feel right, like I would say the only two reasons you really want to dig into medications is if they tell you they're on pain medication, right? Because there's certain medications that will kick them off. And usually when they have a pain medication, they know that name because it's not right. They're weird, strong drugs. And then the second one would be if they tell you they have blood clots, right? So they tell you they have blood clots. Hey, what medication are you taking? I would say out of everything, Amber, those are really the only two medications, right? That would matter. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
at
then
most.
also, if they're diabetic, are they on insulin or a pill?
Good one. I didn't want to miss that. Right. So if they instantly say diabetes, are we on pills or insulin? Because that will change completely what you're going to show them. So good ones on that. Okay. So health conditions. The final one on this one is spouse. Can't say this enough. Right. Get the spouse or whoever else needs to be on the appointment with you. Right. I used to say, right, hey, do we have a spouse or anyone else on the mortgage? And it's crazy. They're going to tell you no, right? Because technically the spouse is not on the mortgage, right? So because of the way we phrase that question, you're not going to get the spouse's name, right? So I have taken on the mortgage off. I think that's really big, right? Hey, do we have a spouse or anyone else? Because then they're going to say yes, or my girlfriend, or my boyfriend, right? Or whatever it may be. And that opens the door, right, to get the other person's information. And then I would say a really big one too is their age, right? So when they give you that spouse's information, right, or name, hey, and how old are they, right? What age are they at? Why that's important is that also helps you change how you write, because if they all of a sudden tell you anyone else, right, and they'll go to, right, if it's right, I'll just use blank examples, right? If it's a 50-year-old male and all of a sudden they're telling you a 30-year-old female, right? And they're like, yeah, that's my girlfriend or whatever. Odds are that that person may want more coverage now because they want to leave that younger person in a better situation, right? Or you'll discover of, hey, yeah, that other person, they're a teenager. Oh, is this your kid? Right? Again, now we're going to change maybe what options we show, right? So always getting that other person, right? I say spouse, but it's always other person. You don't know who it is. Their kid, brother, sister, right? Roommate sometimes, right? Friends buy houses together and things like that. So always asking that, again, that question. Don't tie it to the mortgage because they're instantly going to say no, no one else,
Mhm.
right? And you tricked yourself, right? Because you say, hey, is there anyone else on the mortgage? And they're like, no, there's not, right? But you technically didn't ask them, do you just have a spouse or, right? Are you with anyone?
What I
Right. So
like to
asking it
do
that way.
too,
Go ahead.
Joe, is if they say, no, like just me, oh, okay, so just you in the house. Nobody else stays
Good.
with you.
really good, right? And then again, if you get some pushback, because realize a lot of people, we're still randomly calling them. Sometimes they are trying to get you off the phone, right? And they're just for the ease of time, they're just telling you no, 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 let's go, right? The a good wrap, like closing that part up on the appointment setting is, hey, most important, right? And this is if they told you no one else, right? They didn't say spouse, they didn't say kid or anything, right? Then make sure you add, hey, most importantly, who would be the beneficiary? Something happens to you, who are we leaving the house to? All of a sudden, oh yeah, well, duh, my wife, Joe. I'm like, what? I just asked you if your wife was on the mortgage. I just said, is there anyone else? And you're like, no, no, no. And then all of a sudden, again, because they kept telling me no, I'm like, hey, so who would be the beneficiary? Well, it would be my wife, right? So add that again. And these are things, if you're not getting that person, right? We're tearing down again to have the highest probability of helping the family and prepping for it. So as CI leads, right? A ton of us work CI leads. This is very specific training to CI leads, because CI leads are the spicy ones, and they're like, no, no, I don't have anyone else. Right, because they're just trying to push you off the phone, right? So it's making sure we're adding those little, right, discovery questions is what I like to call them in booking the appointments. So that's 5 things, right? If y'all want to write those 5 things down, it's the mortgage amount, the mortgage payment, the health condition, right, and the spouse, right, or other person. So just make sure, and that's 4. Never mind, right? 4 things. Making sure you're getting those 4 things. Once we have confirmed those 4 things, right, I always love to talk about the takeaway of the appointment. Right up until this point, they probably said, yes, let's go with it, right? 3 o'clock tomorrow. At the very end, I like to take the whole appointment away from them just to have a higher close rate, right? And what does that sound like? Again, it's like, hey, Karen, I just want to make sure tomorrow, right? We don't have, if they've told me they have kids or whatever, we don't have baseball practice, is, traffic from work, because I know you said you get off, right? Are we sure we're not forgetting anything? Maybe a dinner or something tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Is that a good time? And they're like, oh, yeah, no, I don't get off work till 5. Why did you just book at 3 o'clock with me? Right. And it's because you do that little takeaway, you uncover these things. So realize a lot of times, right, as we're running our appointments tomorrow, we're like, man, I had a whole bunch of no-shows. These are things we're not doing and that are causing those no-shows. And think about it. None of these really say I didn't follow the script, right? Because I could have followed the script everywhere else, but I just didn't do these little things, right? And this is where I say, right, as producers or consistent producers, sometimes we have a good week and then all of a sudden I have a bad month, right? And it's like, well, I'm doing everything, Amber, right? I'm like, but are you? Right? It's these little things that we leave off. And I promise you, it is so hard. It's almost, and I love to tell y'all, just like a real producer with y'all, right? Like, it's rare when I do every single one of these things. What I try to do every single day is do as many of them as possible, right? It's not like I can have this massive checklist, right? And try to check off as many. Do whatever's going to work for you, right? But try to do as many of these things every single appointment, every single booking, because it does make a difference, right? So again, now, right, I've done those 4 things. My next one is locking that puppy down, and it's that takeaway, right? Hey, I just want to make sure, Amber, this is still a good time, right? And then here's the good one. Y'all ready? Amber, is that a good time for John to be there too? Right? Again, we've booked the appointment, we've done everything, we've tied it down, we got the spouse, but we did not confirm that that's a good time for both of them, right? Don't run a one-legged appointment. I'm telling you right now, you cancel that appointment and you reschedule it. Do not try to be like, no, 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 let's just do this right now, Shelly. I got this. My wife, she lets me make all the decisions. 7 years of experience. I'm telling y'all, you're going to get told, great, I love all this information, Shelly. I'm going to talk to my wife and I'll get back to you. Goodbye. Right? Because now you have put the great appointment that you ran on the client's shoulder. You expect them to go explain mortgage protection just like you did in 30 minutes to their spouse or the other person. They ain't, I promise you. They're going to say, Shelly's going to go to her husband and she's going to be like, hey, babe, so it's 150 for, I don't know, like 10,000. What? No. Right? Because they didn't go through their budget. They didn't find out that they don't have money in the bank account. They didn't find out that if, hey, the other person passes away, the other person does not have enough to make 2 months worth of mortgage payments. Right? So now they don't realize that a $10,000 policy covers them, right, for the next 6-7 months, and they're not going to lose the home. Right? Do not put that on the client's shoulders. The way you do that is you run a one-legged appointment. Okay? I know you want the app. I know you want the APV. I promise you it's better to cancel the appointment, right, and reschedule, even if it's 2 weeks later. It is way more worth it, right, than running the appointments, because that's what they're going to tell you. I promise you that they're going to be like, well, they worked and I don't know, probably not next week. Realize they're selling you. Okay? So there's always someone selling somebody. They're just trying to convince you to run the appointment right now. Okay, hold to your guns and be like, nope, I do need both of y'all. I need to ask y'all health questions, right? This is insurance still. It's amazing of how all of a sudden you can book the appointment for tomorrow when 10 seconds ago they told you there's probably not a good time till next week. They're selling you. Okay, if you allow them to convince you, right, because they scared you. Oh, next week? No, I need my APV this week because I got leads coming, Amber. No, okay, yeah, let's just run it right now. They won. Okay, so these are little things that right, we have just learned over the years. So making sure, right, the spouse it's a good time for them tomorrow. Then really important, right, again, hire, right, the most consistent, running a Zoom appointment. I understand phone appointments work. I'm just giving you the law of large numbers, right? I don't care what worked for me this week or last month. I want to know what consistently will work for me. That's going to be a Zoom appointment. So verifying, right? Hey, what's a good email, right? And I love this trick, right? Don't tell them it's a Zoom appointment yet, because it ain't an option for them. It's simply, hey, Robin, so what's that email address so I can send you the appointment confirmation and my information. And they magically just give it to you because you're just sending them a confirmation. Okay, perfect. In that email, Robin, there's going to be my Zoom link. We'll be able to jump on there and I'll be able to show you the options for you. I didn't make it a choice. When you go the other way, hey, what's that email address for you, Amber, so I can send you that Zoom link? Zoom? Oh, I don't have Zoom. Oh, I don't have an email. Right? It's probably because you said it backwards. I promise you. Right? It's, hey, what's that email to get that appointment confirmation to you and my information? They give it to you. Then it's like, hey, so in that email, there's my Zoom link. You will be, I'm telling you, you will be able to click on their, Amber, and I'm going to share my screen and go over your options for you. Okay. I guided them through the process. I didn't ask them about the process. I'm the professional, right? So be very careful there, right? If you're getting a lot of kickback, look, we literally book hundreds of appointments throughout the week, right? And everyone gives us their email. I would say it's probably like 1 out of 500 at this point that will tell you they don't have an email, if not even lower, right? So everyone has an email. Everyone will run a Zoom appointment. I promise you. If you anywhere in your stage, you're like, man, I get a lot of people that tell me no. It's the way you're phrasing the questions. I promise. Everyone will run a Zoom appointment. Everyone will do. And we just have higher close rates. Again, do what you want. I'm not saying phone appointments don't work. I like to maximize my dollar, right? So that means if I run a phone appointment and I invest $1,000 in leads, I make $3,000. Hey, that's great. But the fact still lays that if I ran Zoom appointments, I would make $4,000. If you want to leave that $1,000 on the table, that's all on you, right? We're just giving you higher percentages, higher rates, right? How to maximize my dollars. So once we send that, right, it's 2 things you want to do. You want to make sure you send an email confirmation, and then you want to send a text confirmation, right? That allows them to have your phone number directly. right? And then that allows them, right, to have the Zoom link on there. Elijah does this so well. He won't get off the phone until they have proven to him they have the email. Hey, Amber, I just sent you that email. Can you confirm you have it and you see the link? Yep. Perfect. So tomorrow, all you got to do is click on that link and I'll be able to share my screen and go over the appointment. That's the highest show rate you will have if you make them confirm that. Michael?
Joe, could you or James or Amber or Elijah tell us what you put in that confirmation email and text?
So it's just super simple. Again, it's obviously going to be the appointment, right? Also, and we'll post a template, right, on Band for y'all.
Please.
Right? But again, it just verifies, hey, I'm a licensed agent, right? I have my licenses in blank state. Make sure that state is in there. And then like in my email has a little personal stuff in there too, right? I've been doing this for blah, blah, blah. I love to help families, right? Here's some of my information, right? I've been doing this for 10 years, whatever it may be. And then I even have my kid photos in there. What that does is that when I show up to the appointment, I have instant rapport, right? So a lot of times I'll jump on the appointment. They're like, oh my God, your kids, right? Here, Amber's going to share. Right. So just again, a great little example, right? She puts her, if you have, man, I can't say this enough. If you have pets, please add them to your pictures, right? You're going to instantly connect like, oh my God, yeah, I saw your dog, right? What kind is it, right? How old is she? Instant rapport, and you haven't even gotten on the appointment yet, right? So just making sure you're adding something like this. And what I love about this is you can make this a template in Gmail. So it makes it so easy, right? Once my appointment's confirmed, I already have my template open and I'm just typing in their name and the time, and then I just hit send because it already has my Zoom link in there and everything. It is instant. I have it to them, but before we're even right finished confirming that 3 o'clock tomorrow is a good time.
And with this too, right? Like to the clients I wrote earlier this week, because I sent them this email, they started the appointment asking about my dog.
Yep.
And then they showed me theirs and we started build rapport that way. So it helps a lot.
Yep. And I want y'all to realize, right? We've spent 35 minutes on booking the appointment. Why? Because if they don't show up, we ain't got nothing. Okay. Well, this is the most important. This is going to help your show rate. We want to make sure you have the highest rate. It's following. I know this is a lot. Again, it's adding all these things to have the highest show rates, right? And then my final one on reminders there, right, is 1 hour before. 1 hour before the appointment, send a reminder. If you're on Funnel, it automatically does that for you, right? It sends that great text, right? But if not, right, again, making sure you are manually sending a 1 hour appointment reminder. Again, specifics. Not early in the day. Hey, I have 6 appointments. I'm going to send them all in the morning. They're instantly going to come back and say, hey, I need to cancel. Hey, I'm not going to make it. Hey, I'm going to work late. They're all lying to you. Again, they're selling you because you just reminded them and they woke up and they're tired. Like, I don't do this today. Okay. 1 hour before the appointment is the magic number. Okay. Same thing for too late. 15 minutes, 10 minutes before, they probably forgot. Okay. And they're not ready in 10 minutes. Okay. It's the 1 hour mark that's going to give you the highest probability, again, for them to confirm and give them plenty of time to be ready. I think that's good on there. The next one, right, is okay. I've done a great job of booking this appointment. Prepping. I can't say this enough. Prep. Okay. Who was I talking to? I think it was Steve Fiorentino yesterday was telling me, right? Like, he goes, you know what? I think we've discovered one of the main reasons why folks have trouble booking appointments is because they're afraid that they're going to have to run it. Okay. And I get it. Then don't make it scarier on yourself than it has to be. What do I mean by that? By prepping 30 minutes before the appointment or less. That's crazy. You are setting yourself up for stress and failure. Okay. This is why we love to promote, book your appointments for, if you're a brand new agent, book your appointments for tomorrow. Okay. Get help, prep with someone. Okay, so if the reason I say tomorrow, right, is you got to realize we're still all in the field. If you're direct to me, I'm still out in the field. Okay, so you need to book appointments for tomorrow, book them all together, right? So if you book a 3, start booking a 4, a 5, a 6. But that way, when you're done dialing at the end of the day, that gives me and you 2 huge opportunities to prep tonight in the evening and tomorrow in the morning. Okay, do not try to do this by yourself. Okay, we are pound for pound some of the best closers in Symmetry, some of the most profitable in Symmetry off of leads. You should be too, because y'all are working side by side with us. Now, let me say that one more time. You should be too if you're working side by us. So if you don't call your upline to help you prep for your appointment, you are choosing to do this by yourself. Okay, not your upline. You have made a choice of, I'll figure it out. I don't want to bother them. They're too busy, whatever you tell yourself, right? Again, y'all have heard me say this. And so do y'all know how many people call me to prep or how many people call me to get coached? So few, so few. In fact, I've been saying this for months and I'm probably up to like 5 people. Five people. Okay. That means y'all are one of those. Right? That means y'all are one of those to your upline. So please prep with your upline. Simply, right? And again, what does that look like? You're going to go do the work. We're not going to do the work for you, right? Because we need to train you to go hunt all this stuff down. But what you can do with this very quickly in less than 5 minutes is like, hey, Haddon, right? I got a 65-year-old, right? They have blank health conditions. His wife is 62, blank health conditions. Mortgage is blank, mortgage amount is blank, health condition, right? I've got everything. Health conditions is blank. I think this is what I'm going to show them. And they send me a picture of, hey, these are the options I'm going to show them. There is nothing better than prepping that way. Most of the time, you know what to do, but it gives you confidence of when you show up to that appointment that you have the best options. Okay. Here's another way to prep: the workrooms. There are literally top producers dialing and running appointments. If you were to work in a workroom, all you have to do is unmute and be like, hey, James, can you hear me? Hey, James, so, I'm just prepping for tomorrow. I got this, right? And you give them, and they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Or, hey, you know what? Go Eagle Select. Make sure you add that accidental. Again, stop trying to do this by yourself. There's way too many of us wanting to help, right? So again, that prep is really huge. Why for tomorrow? Prep doesn't mean I know what I'm going to write for them, right? That's what I just explained. Hey, these are the health conditions. I'm going to show this to them. Have you gone into the application and do you know how to write the application? Do you know what the app looks like? Do not practice on the client. You can literally log into Americo, you can log into AMAM, you can log into Moo, and you can start typing in all kinds of fake information, right? Americo even has a demo. Take advantage of the demo, right? But all the other ones, you can type fake information and go through it. Again, the number one reason, I love this, Steve reminded me this so well yesterday. The number one reason you don't book an appointment is not because it's mental. You are literally not booking appointments because you're scared to run an appointment. How many of y'all have called us, right, to prep for an appointment, and you're like, well, what is a term, and how does this work, and is it a whole life, and this is an IUL, and I clicked in there, and there's all these other settings, and I don't know. You are scared. I promise you. You are not booking appointments, or you're saying little things, and there's inflections in your voice that is stopping you from booking appointments and writing applications because you just weren't ready, right? And you are the only person in control of being ready. Guess what? You can literally go into to Mutual of Omaha and go write 100 apps this week, fake apps. Do you know what will happen if you write 100 fake apps? Somebody unmute and tell me. Come on. What's going to happen if you go in there and write
confidence and get that money?
Man, you're going to be the best. You're going to be the fastest app writer out there, right? Like sometimes, right, my agents will text me like, did you just write 4 apps in like 23 minutes? I'm like, yeah, Guess what? I have a lot of experience. Give yourself that opportunity, right? So that you're not, right? How many of y'all have ever said, man, I just ran like a 2-hour appointment and I only wrote like 2 apps and I was really slow at it? Well, hey, guess what? You can go practice. You don't have to be slow at the app. Go write it again. Go write it again. Go write it again, right? Like take advantage of the opportunities we have. And again, remember when you're doing all that stuff, you don't do it during dial time. That's what you do, right? Later in the evening, past 8 p.m., before like 9 a.m., right? Those are things that you are practicing right outside of the dial time. And you'll be surprised if all of a sudden when you're ready, because when an agent's ready, you have Mutual of Omaha open, you have America open, you're already at the quoter, you already have the application pulled up, like you're ready to pull that trigger. So if when you're jumping in the appointment, you don't have that stuff set up, are you really ready, right? When we were in the field, we used to say, hey, we had the application on the table already laid out, and we were asking them questions. And it was like the application meant mentally, I was ready to write the application. How do we do that virtually now in this world? Is you have that link up, right? It's already open. You're not having to type in your password when they said yes. You're like, oh crap, it's going to send me the text verification. No, I already did that before the appointment. I'm in there ready to pull the trigger. That's how I write 7-minute applications, right? It was not a surprise that they said yes, because I do all these things and I'm ready to go. I am surprised when they tell us no. Remember that. You are supposed to be surprised when they tell you no, because if you run a great appointment, you should be like, holy crap, that person does not want to protect their spouse. But that ain't up to me. I just did a really good job of uncovering their needs, and they, you know what? They didn't find the value in it. That's perfectly okay. Not everyone says yes, but that's how you know you run a really good appointment. You're surprised they told you no, right? So let's see where we're at.
One thing I wanted to add, Joe, just when you're prepping for the appointment, don't book one appointment and then stop your day just to prep for that appointment.
Yep.
Keep dialing, book more appointments because we know your show rate for new agents or anybody. I mean, it's only going to be about a 30 to 50 or 30 to 40 starting off. And you don't want to stop and just count on one appointment when the chances of them actually showing up are far and few.
Yep. You know, I always love to talk about, right, why you need 6 appointments, right? If y'all have never heard this, pay attention to this because this is super important. Why you need 6 appointments for tomorrow. We have a 30 to 40% show rate. 30 to 40% of 6 appointments is 2. We close at a 50% rate on average at Symmetry. 50% of 2 is 1. That's me starting at 6 appointments. So if I start at 5 appointments, how many apps do I possibly have to close today? The numbers are not on your side. Now, if you're part-time, just realize you can do that number right within 2 to 3 days. But that's why 6 appointments are so important. And it's insane. Like Amber does a great job of this, right? And some of y'all that'll book 10 to 12 appointments in a day. When you have 10, it's not magic. All of a sudden, we're writing 4 apps, right? Why? Because we had 2 sets of 6s in the day, right? So the odds were in our favor, right? So just realize, right, the numbers are there. We ain't ever going to run away from the numbers, okay? And I love to play on them because that makes me successful. I'm not good at this. I just take all the pressure off of me. And everything that we're covering today, I put it all on that, right? I know if I consistently do all these things to the best of my ability, I am writing applications. It ain't a doubt in my mind, no matter what. So I love to talk about that. Let's see, prepping. Again, I love to be very specific. So I even have my agents write down what their option's going to be, right? I love to write down my options. And I tell my agents, snap a picture of it and send it to me. It's amazing of how when we do that, all of a sudden they have way more things than we even talked about, right? Little things are in there, right? The name of the policy, the 15, 20, they have different, right? Again, eliminate all the possibilities of miscommunication. The worst communication is the one you think that happened. Okay, where you think you told your upline well, this is what I was going to show them. And they're like, well, why did you do that? Well, I told you I was showing them 100, but you never said I was going to show them 100,000 at a 10-year term, at a 15-year term, at a 20-year term, at a 25, because I didn't even know America had a 25 term, right? Send pictures of exactly what you're going to tell your clients. I promise you, y'all will find all kinds of stuff. And that is another reason why, right, you're not closing at a higher rate, because now we're going to get into the appointments, right? This one's easy, right? If you're running a Zoom, you hop on, you welcome them, right? Leverage your background, right? If you have, right, pictures of your pets, kids, whatever, right? Your sports or anything like that, right? I always talk about let Zoom do the rapport lifting for you, right? Let them see that you're a real person. Me personally, I don't blur out my background. I don't put a fake background. I like them to see that I'm a real person, right? If y'all are at home, I promise, right? Don't do a blurred background. Let them see you're in your, right, in your office, in your living room, whatever. They want to see you're a real person. Let your kids interrupt your appointment. Let your dogs interrupt your appointment, right? Whatever you may have, they see that you are a real person. Again, I'm talking to myself. I used to fight so much. Now when I, so my front office has a little ringer when somebody walks in. When I would hear that ring, I knew my kids were walking in, right? Because they get off of school and some of them come here or whatever. It would freak me out. I was like, oh my God, they're going to run over here and they're going to, right? Austin's going to be like, Dad. It would freak me out, right? I'm like, they're going to see I'm unprofessional. No, they love it. They love it. You are a real person. I promise you, right? Like leverage Zoom like no tomorrow. It's like being in person. I hope y'all know the highest close rate is in person, but we don't have to do that anymore because it costs too much money. So run Zoom. It's the same thing, right? Take advantage of it. Again, let your kids, pets, everything interrupt you. You are a real person, right? I mean, I've had random people come in. I'm like, hey, hold on. I'm in my office. Let me go see who walked in. They love it, right? It gives us a rapport. They're like, who is that? I'm like, I don't know. Right? Somebody off the street asking for water, donating some bread or something, right? They're like, oh, that's funny. That just happened to me earlier today, right? Again, it allows you to be a real person and build rapport. James laughed, right? There's some other weird stuff walks into this office sometimes. Let's see. Then on the rapport building, right? 10 minutes max. Okay. Make sure you don't do more than 10 minutes. Making sure, right, we are more than 7 questions deep. Okay, more than 7 questions deep. Why 7 questions? Because your first 5 are going to probably be very short. Okay, what do I mean by that? James, how's your day today? Good. Right, and then that's it. You're like, oh, this guy doesn't want to build rapport. Hey, James, so good. Mine good too. Looks like I got you out in Bullhead City. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in Bullhead City.
God, nothing. Oh, sweet. Where are you from? Are you originally from there? This is a new home, right?
Yeah, it's a new home. Originally from Texas, San Antonio.
A little bit better. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I moved, right? I'm originally from, right, Dallas, Texas myself. What brought you out there? I came out here because of work.
Family and work, so kind of both. So I was the only one out there, so kind of moved closer to family.
Right now he's talking a little bit more. Oh, sweet. Yeah, same thing. I moved out here. Then my parents moved out here. Then my brother and my sister moved out here. So the family ended up following me. How about yours? Are they still back there, or did they move too?
All my immediate family's out here, but I still got all my other family still in Texas,
Right.
uncles,
It,
cousins.
it's insane how when you get into past 5, they're talking more, right? And it's not giving you those very short questions or answers. So very important. You're pushing past 7 questions. That
And
is
open-end
usually,
questions.
yeah, open-ended questions. It will open up for them to build rapport for you.
And giving deposits too, like you were doing, like, hey, my family moved out here too as well. So make sure you're giving deposits before just asking. You don't want to just interrogate them. Be like, hey, what did you do on July 14th, 1905?
Yeah, that's
What
good,
were
right?
you-
Right. So realize if you don't tell them anything about you, you are interrogating them. That's what it feels like. Doesn't matter what, right? Where are you from? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. How many kids? Right? They're like, right? Versus it becomes a conversation. If I tell them me first, right? So make a deposit first before you make a withdrawal. That's just a great saying y'all can remember, right? A deposit before withdrawal every single time. And because how do you build really good rapport is they should know everything about you that you know about them, right? So if you know their sport, they should know yours. If you know how many kids they have, they should know how many kids you have. If you know their kids' name, they should know your kids' name. If you know their kids' age, you should know the right. They should know your kids' age, right? It's deposits with withdrawals, right? Making sure we know that's how you build real rapport really fast because we only need 10 minutes. I promise you, right? No more than 10 minutes. If it's going past that, you need to cut them off and you need to jump into the appointment because then it just gets weird, right? Then it gets stalled. Then it becomes too nice and they won't let you run a real appointment. So 10 minutes rapport, then it's running into the real script, right? I won't dig into that. We'll do some other training again on real script, but just follow the script. The big part in the script is the FIF. Okay, you must find out. Okay, look, we've booked a good appointment. We've built rapport. They trust us. Now I have to know if they need this. This is where we're a doctor, right? No doctor just says, hey, thanks for coming in, Shelly. You know, what hurts? Oh, my stomach hurts. Great. Here's your prescription. No, you got to diagnose them. How do you diagnose them? Is you run the FIF. How much money's coming in? Who works where? How many hours you work? How much money's going out? What's in savings? What's in your 401k? How much life insurance do you have? This is a big question that I love to ask. I think this one knocks a lot of y'all out. So pay attention to this one. Ask them if they have life insurance. Do not be scared, right? As a new agent, I promise you, you are scared. I'm scared, Michael. If they tell me they have 500 in term and I'm trying to get them a $200,000 mortgage protect, they're going to tell me no. It's the opposite. You're thinking wrong. Okay. If I sell basketball cards and I walk into somebody's house and they have nothing sports, the odds of me selling them basketball cards, Vince, are very, very short. Right? Versus if I walk into somebody and they got all kinds of NBA cards and they have books of it, the likelihood, even though they had a book full of basketball cards, the odds of me selling them more are extremely high. They like it. They believe in it. So if they have life insurance in place, it is the opposite of what you think. They are more likely to buy because they believe in insurance. The more coverage they have, the more coverage they want. They believe in it, right? You don't, guess what? Now you have an easier appointment because you don't got to convince them why life insurance is important. They've already known that before you showed up. So embrace it. Now you just need to name that puppy. What is this for? Why did you get that insurance? When? Who is it from? Is it from work or is it something you actually own? Then you'll be able to go into, great. What I do is mortgage protection. Yeah, sweet. I've never heard of that. I don't have that. I want that too. I like insurance. That's a James right there for you, I promise. He likes insurance, right? So the FIF and then uncovering, right, whatever their finances are. The next thing is, right, the emotional questions. So if you go write this down, it's in page 5 of the real script. Just go to page 5 of the real script. It has a ton of questions for you, right? They're called quality questions, but it's where you close the deal in reality. Okay? Because you don't have to go past this if they're telling you no at this point, right? Because this is where you say, hey, James, right? Looks like you pass away. Amber only makes, right, $1,000. Y'all's bills are $5,000, like, you know, and you have $2,000 in your bank. So that means you don't even have and you're telling them this, right? And you don't even have, right, a month's worth of mortgage payments, right? Here's a quality question. Something happens to you. How long would Amber be able to stay in the house? That's in there. It's in the real script, page 5. And they're like, oh, and you get quiet. You let them answer this question. It's so weird, right? But then they're like, well, that's why we're talking to you, right? Because we don't have anything in place, right? Or, hey, I never even realized that. Looks like we need some kind of coverage. perfect. That it closed right there. That's where it doesn't matter what you show them next, just make sure you fit their budget, and you have that from the prior one, the FIF. You are writing apps, I promise you. Right? So it's just understanding those quality questions, right? And there's a ton of them. We won't get into that. Today's, remember, is all these things to hit to make sure. So then write the quality questions. Now the next one, right? It's going to be, let's see, emotional questions, right? This is the options. This is where just don't overcomplicate it, okay? You should be showing accidental and whatever coverage you're showing. If they're 70 or below, right, it's going to be that mutual Omaha accidental, and then whatever, right, equity protection or the term that you're going to show them. You're going to show them 2 accidentals and 3 options on the other one. And then they get to mix and match whatever and keep it super simple, right? Y'all have seen our slides before. It's, right, 9 months, 10 months, 12 months worth of mortgage payments. Very simple in the price. And if it's a term, it's the face amount and the dollar amount. That's it. You don't have to add anything else, years, all that you can verbalize, right? But the more you complicate that screen, the more they're going to think about it, right? So it right there, it's on the options, it's keeping it as super simple as possible, even explaining it, right? Y'all don't have to know terminal illness, chronic illness. The only one you need to know is critical, okay? The Americo and the Mutual of Omaha, 80% of the face amount is going to pay out if they get a heart attack, stroke, or cancer. That's all we ever have to say. Is there a whole bunch of other stuff in there? Yes. They can review the policy. I promise. They're not buying the policy because in the fine print it says, oh, even if it's a stent and it's a major stent and it's a blockage of 80%, right? It'll still pay out, right? $75,000. That's not why they're buying the policy. I promise. They're buying it because Chris Cook told me this the best way. How does insurance work? They die, it pays. Very simple. And what's the payment? $98. That's it. I explained 3 things. Hey, it's going to give you $200,000 of coverage, right? It right. This is either a whole life or a term, and then right, Amber, it pays you out, and it's $150 a month. You don't need to know anything, I promise you, because if you ever call me and you're my agent, I don't know anything about a policy. Right? Like, I still don't know. I've never needed it. They're not buying it because of all the little bells and whistles. They're buying it for what it does, not what it is. What it does is it makes sure that if they pass away, their family does not lose the house. They are not buying it because it has chronic, terminal, because it's a graded, because it's an accidental, because it's a 20-year or 15-year, because it's an IU. All that's in your head, I promise you. They are buying it because you uncovered a need and you showed them how blank a month would protect the other person from losing the house. I promise you, that is what we do. It is that simple. Do not overcomplicate it. It doesn't matter what you're showing them. The final one is going to be the tie down, right? The tie down is simple. Make sure nobody can come behind you and take your policies, because guess what? We are not the only people that do this. So if you ever get a random call from your client or a policy just canceled, somebody's probably coming behind your business and closing them as well. Okay? How do you prevent that? Is this one sentence? Hey, Amber, right? Also, right, I'm taking you off the list of the mails, right, of all those letters you get in the mail. Takes a couple of weeks, right? So if you get any more, throw them away, because people still respond to these things. It's crazy, right? And hey, Amber, if anyone else calls you, just let them know Joe already took care of you, okay? And if they don't know who I am, you probably shouldn't be talking to them. You know, random people call y'all for different, they all laugh right there. Huh, let me tell you that people will call me and be like, hey, do you know that? I'm like, nope. I never get a case. I can literally say, I mean, it had to have been in my first years. I've been here 7 years now. In the past 6 years, I have never had a client call me and tell me somebody else showed them something else and they were going to take that instead. So take the power of that. right? Because I learned really quick to tie this puppy down. Because back then we were in the field, so other agents would come in behind, and I had an agent, still remember him, Ryan Reynolds, Amber. Ryan Reynolds would come behind my appointments and try to take them. He took like 3. After that, no one has ever closed or taken my client, because I tell them, you call me if anyone else calls you, and I will make sure, right, we always have the right thing in place. No one takes them. Okay, so make sure you lock them down that way. Amber, Jane, I mean, I don't know. Anything else you think we missed? I mean, these are the basic things, but it's so easy, right, to still follow script and miss these things. And I tell y'all, because I do it, like this week, I felt I did it a couple of times, right? And I'm like, stop it, right? So that's why, again, I train myself when I'm doing this. Anything y'all want to add before we get off?
I would just say make sure to call your upline in the appointment, after the appointment.
Yep. Yeah. Always talk about them. That's so good.
And just practice the real script. Just go over several times before. Don't be if it's your first time reading it, don't let your clients be the guinea pig. So make sure you review it and go over it several times.
Yep. Remember what's the good old saying? You're 8 pages away from 100K, right? If any of y'all want to make more than 100,000 in a year, you're 8 pages away. And that's the real script. The real script is 8 pages. Stop fighting it. You should have that thing memorized. It's $100,000. Doctors got to go memorize all kinds of stuff. You're pushing back on 8 pages. Go memorize that puppy. Say it 100 times. I promise that's all it takes. So that means in 1 week, you can train yourself to make 100K. All you got to do is say it 100 times, and you'll be amazed of how smoother you are and how much you can pivot because you went out and practiced it. So hope that helps y'all a lot. Again, if anything helped you from here, if y'all can post on band, it really does help the rest of the agents. So thanks for hopping on.